No, that's huge. I think you're 100% right. I think the question came to me the other day is like they were asking me about how you can help as a club develop players for like national team, for the GB, for Euros, and I listened to something from the like head of development for the Australian pathway, and one of the points he said was understanding like if you want, like, so those guys in Australia, they're one of the leaders in national teams in producing players right now. You know, he has to understand what a GM at the NBA level would want from this player. And then once he gets that, he then has to try and get the kid to understand where they are in that spectrum. And their kid might not want to do that. But if they do, the kid's got to understand what that looks like. And they've got to be very self-aware. The one thing that I think is more important than people are giving credit for, maybe talking about like, how can you develop? You want, like, skill trainers are good, don't get me wrong. I like it. But if you haven't got a clue what you do well and what you don't do well, and what situation you're going to excel in, and what situation is going to put you in a bad environment, and what you can handle, your non-negotiables. Look, when you go into those situations and they put you in those, don't be surprised when the outcome is not as positive as you want it to be. You must understand who you are, and you must commit to making incremental change to get better and improving what you do wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I probably learned that lesson from that experience. Yeah.
No,
So
that's big. That's definitely big. So you transferred out.
I transferred.
Where did you transfer to?
So I transferred to an NAIA school in Maine. I transferred to University of Maine, Matthias.
And who coached you? Come on, because I'm telling you, this is six degrees of separation, bro. It's just, I'm telling you, as big as the universe is, sometimes we operate in this in the same.
To be fair, the first 2 years, and you, like you say, just a piece on that. When I first got there, so I went in there, and it was an NAIA school at the time. And the only reason I chose that conference is because I was being recruited by a couple of schools from that conference. For University of Maine, Fort Kent, there was a guy named Derek Johnson, a coach called Derek Johnson. You know, he's and he had Stafford there. Stafford was playing in that conference.
Are you serious?
And, yep. I think he's family with Derek as well, but Derek was doing well with that conference. They had gone to the national tournament as a player at Machias. There were some really good players that came through that conference, and I'm not doing them justice because I should say it, because he's just put out. If you look at that basketball site on Facebook, you can see some of the people that he played against or got to see play in the NAIA finals. They just put it into that group in Facebook. Sean Casey coached them as well in that period. That's a top coach as well. And so Derek, I knew I could play against that conference. Stafford and Aaron that we played with. Aaron, can't remember his last name. He's in that picture too.
Redhead Aaron.
Yep. So he played at Fort Kent as well. So I went into that conference, and Coach Lash was coaching me, and he was a local guy, but he was a decent enough coach. He brought me in there after the film I sent him, and once I left there, and that's where I finished out. But also I got to play against Kieran Achara when he was at prep school. We always played a prep game against that prep school. So I didn't actually play that much that game, but the game before I did play because we played MCI, which was one of the best prep teams. That was a warm up. I then tore my Achilles tendon my junior year playing against Stafford and Aaron.
Oh, wow.
In the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, I tore my Achilles tendon at home, and it was a really fun environment to play in. Like I said to people, I'm not mad that I chose NAI. It was frustrating. Again, I think one thing that I always tell young kids, and I told this to one of my national team players, and she really said it helped her, was I said the challenge that sometimes you have being from our environment is when you are quote unquote considered good players in our country, you're playing at such a level you're seeing so many of these players go out and play at such a level. You can spend so much time wasting, or you can be wasting so much time thinking about what you should be doing, in opposed to what you're actually doing. Because if you played against Aju and Lual and like the other guys I played against, you'll go into these settings. Why can these guys guard me? What like how can But you don't. You still got to do your job. You still got to do your job, and the world's a lot bigger than you and your bubble. And I think I learned that, and that team. And then I know where we're going with this, but after I tore my Achilles in that game, our coach left, and Coach Lee came in. We sharing kind of, I know you're going to talk about, but I'll tell you this.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, Daniel Midgley was on our team too. That he was always good people. Midge is good people. But Coach Lee brought in that year, and we were already pretty good. We already had like a D1 transfer. We had a 6'8" guy. We had lots of good Canadian guys. We were getting lots of good Canadian guys. So we had a pretty solid team. Not a great team, but a solid team. This guy came in and brought in a guy that was ranked higher than Dwayne Wade out of high school. And he wasn't even eligible at first. He only got to play with a couple of players. And even to this day, I did a podcast, someone said to me, who's the best player you ever played against or played with on the same court as? Jamal Davila, man. Jamal Davila. The guy was... Go Google him. The guy is ridiculous. He won that America's Top Sports Star thing as well. You know, that competition they had in the States about skills and playing. Yeah. He won that. He played with Udonis Haslem, but Coach Lee brought him in. He brought his brother, who ended up finishing at Savannah State. He brought a guy from Georgetown, KY, in. He brought a point guard from Georgia State in. And we already had a guard from Tennessee Tech. You know, Ned and AJ, two great young Canadian guys. He brought a guy, Andy Holyfield, which was the boxer Holyfield's nephew. He just brought in bodies, man. But I'd already experienced that. So before I talk about, because the next bit will be about probably the transition for me from going to being a player to a coach. But I know you wanna at least give the connection and the background on Coach Lee.
So.